What's up guys, my name is Rainy. Welcome back to the Rainy Days YouTube channel. Today, I'm setting myself a little bit of a challenge. I have picked a new subreddit, r/prorevenge, and I am creating this video that you're watching in one day. That means all of the research, the filming, the editing, the thumbnail. Yeah, sure, professional YouTubers can probably do it in that time. But it took me like 5 days to edit the last r/entitled parents video, so yeah. That's how slow I am at this. Okay, so we're doing r/prorevenge. It'll also be like sort of a longer video, and there will be, of course, there'll always be bloopers at the end because I can't help but mess up. Okay, let's get on to the first story. My brother abused my parents and stole from my family for years, so I made him homeless and made his girlfriend leave him. On mobile, so as cliche as it is, formatting may be bad. I tried to post this to r/nuclear revenge. 10 likes if you want an r/nuclear revenge episode. But my account was made recently, so I couldn't. Anyway, most of the revenge wasn't directly done by me, but it was caused by actions from before. Anyway, enjoy. So for context, my brother is a 22-year-old man who has never worked a day in his life and begs my parents for money. My dad has dealt with him, for lack of a better term, on several occasions, and whenever he is here, my brother does nothing wrong. Funny, right? Anyway, for years now he has been stealing and reselling my family's personal possessions, and police have been called more times than I can count, but they can't do anything. A few weeks ago, he smashed my mum's wing mirror in and has broken TVs, phones, etc. My dad went away on a business trip today, and this was the day it happened. Disclaimer, most of the events of this is what my mum told me as I was at school, but I know for a fact it was true. M, mum, D, B is brother, D is dad, and S is my sister. Okay, let's go. This is a long one, boys. So before my mum went to work, it was about 11:20. My brother asks my mum for money. Now, my family's financial situation is not great at the moment, despite what you'd think upon first glance. My other brother clearly thought that she would just shove the money into his pockets forever, and constantly asked. Anyway, he asks for money and it plays out like this. Mom, can I have some money? No, brother. I don't have the money right now. I gave you money a few days ago. Okay, let me add something. DB is an absolute druggie. He is the definition of a druggie, and he spends all of his money on drugs. Let me also add that he's been calling my mother for years and not giving him money, and trying to get him a job. He has severe ODD and ADHD, literally the worst combination of behavioural disorders imaginable. He's been given medication but refuses to take it and calls my mum a who doesn't give up about him. And he complains that she doesn't do anything for his son. Yes, he has a son. Anyway, let's get back to it. DB, for say, just give it to me. I want to go out. No, I don't have the money. I'm skint. You just give me the money. No. He began to make threats all up in her face about headbutting her and popping her windows, and my mum told him to off. He ran up the stairs and began rummaging around in her room. Now, I hide my Switch games because he has sold them before. I hide them in a large red Amazon box. When she came up the stairs, it was gone from her room. She searched my room, thinking that I took it to play games. Nope. My younger brother's room? Nope. Nada. Empty. She ran up the stairs and found them hidden underneath DB's duvet. She took the box and he pulled it out of her hand so hard it ripped the handle of the box clean off. He threw his already smashed TV, guess who smashed it, at her, and she moved out the way. He told her to off and he'd push her downstairs. She said to do it because he'd go to prison, and anyhow, he would never try that. Turns out he has already sold them. My games that accumulated worth of £300 were now being sold at Sex. To anyone who doesn't know, it's kind of a pawn shop, but they sell DVDs, games, etc. and do trade-ins. I was livid when I found out my game box empty. I went up to his room, screaming and crying, smashing it up. I was done. I threw his bike helmet across the floor, his comics, his games, and searched every drawer. They weren't there. I walked back down the stairs, defeated. I began to bawl my eyes out. My my presents, my property, all gone. It took me 2 years just to get all of those gains from my parents. Now this had stolen them. I honestly wanted him dead. It wasn't just the games either. It was the blatant disrespect and pure arrogance over the years that did it for me. I smashed up his room and wanted him to feel what it was like to have something you care about be destroyed and ruined. I had to. He deserved it. So, my mum went to him and his friends around Sainsbury's near my house and embarrassed him, saying what he did. He didn't like this. He pushed my mum, calling her and that. She came home, him in tow. He just came into the house. My mum able to stop him and went to his room. He came down screaming, "Oi, whoever just smashed up my room, better come up here and clean it up." Oh, so you can sell but messing up your room is the real crime here? You little tramp, the games are there. Clean up my room now. No, you deserve this. He went back to his room, calling me an array of names. I couldn't have cared less. S. Call the police, he won't leave. Oh, he will, and I can't call them because CPS will take me and little brother away if he doesn't leave. I'll call them. I called my dad and told him what had happened. He was upset but not shocked. Listen, I'll buy the games back for you when I get the money. I know, Dad, but it's not about that. It's about the principle. I know. I'll talk to your mum about this, okay? Bye. And also props to my dad for being such a cool guy. Anyway, my mum called DB's girlfriend, who was a nice person, and told her everything. She's been stuck in this relationship because of the child they had together and was looking for an excuse to end the relationship. So she did. DB came screaming down the stairs at my mum, crying, saying that she was a lowlife. He also said that he'd done nothing wrong. He turned to me and started saying that he had only sold one game, and I just replied with, "Where are the games then?" Beep off. Leave. Now, get out. Cool, I will leave. He ran out then, speeding away on his bike, tears in his eyes. I watched a grin forming. I had this life up. Fast forward a few hours later, and he is at the door begging to be let in. FYI, we changed the lock. And he said he had been hit off his bike. Mum, the nice person she is, let him in, to which he immediately started shouting at her, calling her a bad mother for locking him out. He then started calling me names and trying to hit me. My mum beat him around the head with a TV remote, breaking it, and he walked away. He started calling my mum names, begging for a phone. She had left him. Fully. All of her friends and his friends now know what he did. They threatened to call the police. I laughed, cackled if you will. When he stepped outside, I have no remorse. He has had it coming for years. Now his life is over. F you, DB. I hope you die on the street and your son grows up knowing his dad was a scum. Ooh, okay. Oh, that was really long. Hold on. How long have I been recording? I've been recording for 10 minutes and there's only one story already. Wow. I mean, obviously I messed up a bit and I'd have to edit it down, but that's still like a long time. That's one story. A fairly good story as well. That was a really nice story. Well, no, it wasn't a nice story, but it was a nice prorevenge story. Okay, let's get on to the next story. Selfish aunt abuses the words dead husband and pays up. So this story happened around 2 to 3 years ago. So around that time, my uncle had passed away. He was a good man, he was selfless and generous. But my wife, my aunt, was selfish AF. She would be so selfish to the point that no one wanted to invite her to family reunions. But family is family. So after the funeral, we went to a restaurant in Chires. I don't know what that is. Say a place, because why not? We ordered our share of good food and agreed that we'd pay for our part. When we were discussing about who pays for this and that, my aunt slowly left the table saying, "I'm going to go to 7-Eleven." She walked past the restaurant a few times. The front of the restaurant was glass and could be seen through. Probably see whether the food arrived. When it did, she rushed in and started eating like a werewolf on drugs. Keep in mind, my aunt ordered a lot of food, probably for herself. When we were done eating, she said, "That sure was some good food." Yeah, it sure was. Anyways, everyone put the amount of money that we agreed for on the tab. Essie sits there. "Hey, aren't you going to put in your share?" "Nah, I'm fine." "But you should. You ordered a lot of food, and in fact you didn't even share." "But it's my dead husband's funeral." And got pissed and said, "Fine, I'll pay." SU, now with a sleek grin, walked to her car and drove off. Now, the story doesn't end there. By the end of that year was Christmas, and we decided to go to an expensive buffet, or whatever you call it. One child equals 150, one adult equals 200. We entered in as 4 adults. No. We entered, we as in 4 children and 5 adults. Do the math. We had some food, but when we were done, my mum knew something was up with SU's sleeves. "Hey, I need to go to the toilet," leaves. My other aunt, "I'm gonna go take photos outside." SU 2 children, "I'm gonna go check the shops out around here." My sis, my two cousins, my 2 cousins and I say we're going to play outside. SU was left there, alone, with a tab on the table. We would walk by, without my aunt noticing, to see whether the bill had been paid up. When it was, we all walked in at once, my mum saying, "Hey, thanks for paying," in a straight accent. Let's do the math. There's some math I'm not going to say out. Basically, it came to 1,600. Divided by 5 and you get it in USD. Ooh, that's nobody got hurt. Nobody, yeah. Was there another part to this? Oh, there is. There's a few more things to this. My aunt, now bankrupt, says, "Welp, I'ma leave." Then she leaves. Moral of the story, don't be selfish and be selfless. So true. Like, actually, so true. Yeah, agree with the story. No one got hurt. There was no funny business going on. I like stories like this. Cheat on me? I'll get my revenge. Little backstory. I was married when I was 18. She was 16. Yeah, I knocked her up. But we'd been together for over a year. Neither parents were upset. It was actually her second time being pregnant. She had a son when she was 15. We got married and ended up having 3 more kids together over the next 10 years. Whoa. This is where it all started going downhill. After the last kid, she decided to have her tubes tied. I was on board and was all good. About 6 months after my son was born, the company I was working for took off, and I was put in charge of the paint department, prefab steel buildings. I started working about 80 hours a week, trying to get everything up and running. Took about 4 months of this, and my hours dropped back to normal, around 50 hours. During these 4 months I was away, my marriage started falling apart. I was hit with the "you're never home anymore," while she had her hand out for the paycheck, of course. I started hearing rumours about her and one of her co-workers. It wasn't the first time she had cheated on me, so it didn't surprise me at all. I didn't tell her my hours went back to normal, and I showed up at home early to find her and this dude naked on my couch. I freaked out. He went through the front window butt naked. She grabbed a knife in a scuffle and I got stabbed in the arm. Neighbours seen this naked dude fly through the window, hop in his car and speed away, so they called the cops. I was standing there bleeding like a pig, and I get arrested for domestic violence. I never touched her, by the way. I get down to the police station after they wrap up my arm with the kids they had and book me in. They take my statement and look confused. Fast forward about an hour and they release me and all charges dropped. Thank God. We ended up getting a divorce. All in all, it was amicable, with good visitation and everything was good. Found out exactly 3 days after the divorce, she'd married the guy she was cheating with. I was still mad, and it dawned on me how to get revenge. Fast forward about 6 months. She'd stopped by my apartment one afternoon to talk. Yep, it was time. I used every nicety I could find, played the game, got her in bed, have every kind of nasty sex I could think of. After we were laying in bed and she was telling me how bad the marriage was and she wanted to come back to me, blah, blah, blah. I turned over, looked her straight in the eye and said, "Nah, I got what I wanted, now go home to your husband." What she didn't realise is, during the encounter, I had grabbed her phone and dialed her husband. And just let it set on the dresser so he could hear everything. She got up, got dressed and grabbed her phone, looked at the screen and went white. I just smiled as she ran out of the house. The guy did divorce her over it. Revenge is sweet. All my kids are grown and out of the house now. I am remarried to a wonderful woman that I love with all my heart. I hear the ex and her ex-husband are back together again and got remarried after about a year. Too bad, I love my wife, or I'd get revenge again. Oh! This is like our first nuclear revenge. Holy mackerel. Whoa. That's a lot of revenge. How many stories have we done? Have we done 3? This is our 3rd one. Oh, no. Yeah, no, that was our 3rd one. Yep, that was our 3rd one. So, steal from your son / my dad, enjoy getting removed from the family. So, allow me to toss in some backstory before we get deep into the juicy parts. My father has always been really nice to people in need, especially family members. He would break his back for them, and literally has. So you can imagine the lengths he went just to help his father. Although my grandfather was a massive idiot, he still helped him no matter what he needed, even if it was something insane. So here is where it all starts. My grandfather calls my dad and asks him for some money. Not bad, right? Just like $100 or $200 to repair his house. No big deal. A week later, he calls him back for some more money, but this time a much larger amount, about $2,000. Of course, my good old pops gave him the money, but this goes on up until the point he sucked about $10K from my dad for repairs. At the time I was only 16, but was still smart enough to realise that my dad was totally getting conned by my grandfather. This goes on for a while, eventually phoning $23K from my dad for his repairs. Then we see on my aunt's social media a picture of my cousins and them at grandpa's house. We see a hot tub, a new car, and really nice looking clothes on my grandpa. I was pissed at my grandfather. Oh, I swore. Damn it. We were struggling financially, all because he wanted a hot tub, a new car, and some clothes. He never used the money for what he said he would. He basically stole and brought luxury stuff. This is where I decided to get my revenge. My dad didn't want to tell any of our family members because he believed he would get paid back eventually. I wasn't having any of it. This man's messed up my Christmas by sucking out all that money, and I'm not letting this slide. So I decide to take it upon myself and message every single family member with a sob story, making it seem like we were way more poor than we were by pulling everything out of our cabinets but some chips and a bag of goldfish, taking a picture of the barren wasteland. At the time, I lived in a room we built out of our garage. It looked pretty terrible, but honestly I thought it was dope. But since it looked so bad, I took a picture of that as well, claiming it was run down. We couldn't afford the repairs for my room, and my parents' room looks even worse. Of course, they were all annoyed when I sent this, and all trashed him over the phone. Some went to his house and harassed him over it. After the terrible sob story I threw together, they completely ignored his existence and went about their lives. After this happened, his house turned into a rundown shack since he never used the money he borrowed to repair it. Wouldn't be getting any, so he could repair it. 2 years later, my dad gets a call from him bringing news that he has prostate cancer and he's practically homeless. Ever since the family found out, no one has talked to him, not even a text in the last 2 years, basically pretending he didn't exist. I asked to talk to him, and in a cheery voice I say, I'm glad to hear it, and no, I won't be going to your funeral. I don't think anyone will. I hope you enjoyed being alone for the last few years of your life. I then passed the phone back to my dad and returned to playing video games. Not too sure if that was a bit much since he's probably dead now and died alone, but honestly, I don't know, because I don't care. But if you mess with my dad, we have a problem, and I won't let it slide. I mean, I love the family sticking up for family here, and I like how you got the revenge. Um, and I want to say that your grandfather dying wasn't your fault. But yeah, it also really could be your fault. So yeah, take that how you will. We're just gonna move on to the next story. Next story. Steal from my dead granddad, lose your benefit money. This is a family style revenge, so get ready. My granddad had lived down the road from us since before I could remember. He would always play with me and my sister when my mum had to work, and I thought of him as my second father. He kept a really expensive platinum necklace on as a keepsake from my grandmother, as he always told me stories about her and all the wars he'd served. Some backstory now on my aunt's family. They were basically people who refused to work and were actually proud of scamming the government to pay for their lifestyle. Through benefits, they would falsely claim on mental disability and being obese as a justification not to work. And at the time, getting as much as my mum worked at her full-time job. My cousin literally texted me all the time that he doesn't want to work and play on his Xbox. This, you a grown-ass 26-year-old man, act it. They never visited my granddad, and for good reason. He was physically disgusted with a lot of them. So here is where the story starts. My granddad winds up in a hospital due to a heart attack. My mum, my sister, and me show up to care for him. After 3 days, and when the doctors explain that he hasn't got much time left and say our goodbyes, EA, evil aunt, rocks up with her family. So much for being so ill you can't drive to get a job. They ask how much time he has left. Us, wanting to be civil, told them and led them in to talk to him. He then passes away after another day, and we get together to decide how he would want his funeral. Since my gran was buried in Cornwall, we decided to hold the ceremony there so they could be buried together. Cornwall was about 300 miles away, but we thought it would be worth it. I still lay down flowers every year. EA and her family not only do not want to go down to Cornwall, they refuse to chip in even 50p down for anything, so they decide to stay up and watch his house. I know, red flags, but we were mourning, so we didn't think it through. The funeral was beautiful, heartfelt eulogies that brought memory after beautiful memory. All was well until we got home. All was well until we got home. Empty. Anything of value was gone, and the only thing left behind was some paintings from my grandma. She was a really good artist, and me liking art as well, decided to keep them. We were annoyed. We went to EA, and she denied everything. We had nothing on her at the time, so we decided to file a police report and left it at that, until 3 weeks later when we came round to visit and see if everyone was coping. Mum had noticed some new expensive things, new TV, new PlayStation, the works. She began to suspect something, as well as me and my sister, until EC, evil cousin, comes in. He is wearing my granddad's platinum necklace. I asked him where he got it, and he told me he had brought it with some money he got from selling pots. Yes, he sold pots as well, but I know that's my granddad's necklace. We got in the car, all of us seething. They are no longer family. We needed revenge. The revenge time. Now, I mentioned before that they had been falsifying their medical records so that they received benefits from the government. Every time we would go over and sneakily take photos of everything they had just brought, as well as my EC's stash of pot and my uncle's collection of stolen goods. Forgot to mention he would steal big items off of fans and then sell them online for extra profit. We collected every text message of them bragging about their many fancy holidays and then refusing to want to work, compiled a case report and anonymously sent it to the claimant investigators and let them do their jobs. A month later I hear from my other cousin, nice girl, training to become a nurse, and I really admire that she didn't take that path for the family. That EA and uncle got their benefits taken off them and had criminal charges to pay, resulting to the business they stole off. And my EC got arrested stealing pot. They are now financially fricked. I think the last time I talked to them was them asking for money. Since I came from well off the family, they thought I could convince my mum she doesn't want to speak to them. I told them to go away. Edit. Thanks for the love. A lot of you are wondering if I got the necklace back. Unfortunately, EC decided to pawn it for money to cover his losses. Didn't find that out until half a year later. By then, it had been solved. I got some of the stuff my granddad had, some vintage records, some army paraphernalia, and a few bits of jewellery, but all the stuff that was personal was long gone. I never talked to them again. Woo! That was some juicy revenge. Oh, we've been recording for half an hour, including bloopers. I'm just wondering, do we only have one story left? If we have one... Okay, we have one story left. I'm gonna say this story, even though it will extend the length of the video and means more editing for me. It's annoying, but, you know, I want to, because then this story won't have anything to go to. So this is what I'm doing, okay? Look after my kids. Again. Back when I was a teenager, my aunt would ask me to babysit her kids. It didn't happen often, so I really didn't mind, as long as she brought me pizza, and her 2 children were well behaved. Anyway, she was a divorcee, and after a couple of years, she remarried. His 2 kids were alright as well. I didn't mind babysitting for them when they asked me to, about 3 months after their wedding. This is where it starts going downhill. Firstly, no pizza. Second, they came home 3 hours later than they said they would, and didn't give me a lift home. I'm 16 at this point and I'm a very big guy, so no worries walking home, but it was about 2 a.m. in the morning. They started to take advantage. Almost every week they wanted me to look after their kids for no pay and would get extremely annoyed if I refused, often having a go at my mother, who would cry, and I hated that. Fine. So they called me to look after their kids so they could go and do their regular, "We'll be home by 10, but we mean 1 a.m. Okie dokie. I rocked up. Sure enough, no food aside from the kids' dinner. I raided their fridge, then at about midnight, I woke up the kids and took them into the lounge and put on a video. They were a little confused, but excited to be up at that time. I then gave them each a can of Red Bull and a packet of lollies. About 20 minutes later, the parents showed up and I left. They never asked me to babysit for them again. Apparently, they shouted at my mother, and Dad told me off, but he couldn't stop laughing, so I wasn't in too much trouble. Okay, I remember why I screenshotted this, and I'm glad this is the end of this video because we just had a grandfather die. Woo! That was such a good... Oh, that's so funny. Like, no one got hurt. The little kids got to experience Red Bull for the first time. It's just cute. And, you know, he won't have to babysit for them anymore. Which is a plus. In his terms, it's a plus. Right. That has been all. This has been Rainy. Make sure to have a great day, even if your days are filled with rain, like in the UK. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Woo! Anyway, this has been Rainy, and I hope you guys had a great day. I'll see you later. Bye! On mobile, so cliche it is. He is. And whenever he has... Mum, can I have some money? No. I don't have any money right now. I gave you money a few days ago. Oh. Oh, I just messed all that up. Okay. Hey, aunt. Oh, wait. Little backstory. I was married when I was 18. She was 16. Yeah, I knocked her up. But we had been together for over a year. Neither parents were upset. But it was... Gonna take a drink because I'm messing up on my words. That was probably really gross and I'm really sorry. I was going in the bloopers. We got married and ending... Whoa, 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 whoa! Another drink break. So this is going in the bloopers, so I'm just gonna talk to you guys. How do you like these videos? Do you like the pro-revenge? I like the pro-revenge. It's really funny to sort through some of these. Drink break. If you're wondering why I'm not stopping the recording for my drink breaks, it's just because I like to record this all in one and then cut out bits for the audio, so yeah. If you want to see how I do it, watch my vlog channel. Sophie Diggle do. They ask how much time he has left. Wanting us to be civil, told them and led in. They told... Ah! Whoa, you live in Scotland? That's cool. South Scotland, I believe. I'm probably wrong here, actually. Ignore that. It didn't happen often, so I really didn't... Oh my god. I have hiccups from drinking. Oh no. Ugh!